Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. It's half-time. I'm Paul John Dykes. This is Chris McElwain, a.k.a. Double Denim. And if you ever see him in public, you know why he's called that. Apologies to anyone who watches on Instagram, because I forgot to click the go live button on Instagram in the first one, but we're going to be live in the second one. It's half-time, and we're here to talk for 15 minutes about the first 45. Looking at that game, Chris, just before we came on, what I was going to say is we have spent so many half-time breaks during Brendan Rodgers' second tenure. In a scenario like this where you're sitting and there's been a stalemate perhaps, or the team has more or less refused to allow you to breach. And that seems to be the first half that I'm looking at. Dundee United, a couple of wee breakaways, etc. Challenging that defence that we spoke so much about, Chris, which I think I've done pretty well. I mean, let's be honest, the defence has done pretty well.
Defence has done all right, yeah. Yep.
Aye, for what's been thrown at it, which hasn't been much, let's be honest, right? Yep. But there's a few things I think we can strip back on in relation to that performance. We were a wee bit critical, I think maybe the word would be right, of the defence when we've seen the lineup. But let's start off with a wee bit of praise. They've done all right. They've not been completely under the cosh. They've done okay. Let's start off with Stephen Welsh.
I think he's done pretty well. A lot of the attacks from Dundee United, and there haven't been many, they're coming from largely orchestrated by Middleton coming down our right-hand side. I think actually Ralston and Welsh have done a decent job of stopping the crosses coming in, intercepting. I think they've been okay. Welsh is actually contributing a bit to the forward play as well. Passes a wee bit hard for me. Tends to pass at 100 miles an hour. You see that some of the forward players trying to control it. He really shings it. I don't know if that was.
But he can pass a ball, Chris. He can do that.
He can, and that's the point. And actually, his accuracy was pretty decent. A couple of wee sort of scrappy looking challenges here and there. One he kind of got away with. He sort of scuffs it with the bottom of the foot. I noticed early on in the game, but his positional play is okay. Him and Scales are working well. Scales, I think, has taken the responsibility quite well today. See Scales kind of galloping forward quite a few times. Galloped forward a little too far for my liking at one point. Nearly lost. Nearly lost it.
He had got a wee turbo. You know what I mean? He was on it.
He did. He was a wee bit fortunate to get away with it. But I like to see that. I like to see them, moving forward and reading the play in front of him. Ralston, I think, has done okay. I think you can see some of the rustiness with the passing.
Did you see his Cruyff turn? Just at the
I did. Yeah, I was unlucky. It didn't come to anything. I think the big problem, though, I know we're going to come to it, but we're doing pretty well defensively down that side. It's clear Dundee United are targeting that side. We're doing pretty well. I think Middleton's causing us problems. Nothing offensively is going down our right-hand side at all. Absolutely nothing. And it's a real problem.
I've got a theory on it, mate. I'll start talking about Welsh first, right? Because Stephen Welsh is a player that's came through, and I remember if you go right back to his earliest performances in a Celtic jersey, I remember him being recalled from Morton, and I think it was for the Hamilton game. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. He got recalled from his loan deal at Morton. He was playing kind of right back for Morton. And I was there that night against Hamilton, and I thought, okay, new youngster, let's see what he's got. And there have been moments in his career. I spoke to a few kind of youth coaches who had coached teams that played against Stephen Welsh, and what they continually highlighted about Welsh was his range of passing. And I think we've seen it in the early part of his Celtic career, not so much in recent times. But quite a few of today's chances have been created by Welsh. He likes the dink over the top, which sometimes unlocks that narrow defence which we're facing today, which we knew we would. But there was that brilliant defence splitting pass through to Yang. And it leads us on to Yang. So I think the big thing that I would say positively about Welsh is his passing range has been very good in the first half. The one thing that frustrates me, I don't know if it's an individual thing, let us know in the comment section. Every time the ball is passed to Stephen Welsh, he thinks he's got all the time in the world. He thinks he's playing in Serie A and it's a sun-kissed pitch somewhere in Milan, and he can put the wee chest out and have a look about, and he's got all the time in the world, right? And the first touch is generally his foot's on the ball or his studs just roll across the top of the ball as if he's got all the time in the world. Yeah. That's your first touch, mate. The tempo's not high enough for me, right?
Yes.
First touch either should be a pass or it should be progressing his body shape so that he's on the move, right? And that's the one thing about him that I'm watching. I'm going, he's too slow. He slows everything. He sucks the life out of any kind of, because he's too slow with that. But by the way, that's on the back of me saying he's had a good first half and his passing has actually created a couple of really good chances for me. But moving on to your second point, Chris, and it's not to have a dig at Yang. Yang, the man who has made more appearances for Celtic than Kuhn, incidentally. That's got to be my caveat every time I mention him. Right, we all know you don't need anybody to analyse his performance. He's not been on it at all in the first half.
No.
The question is what you do at half-time. Now, history will tell us that Rodgers won't do anything. I know he made a bold move at half-time against Rangers, but history's MO isn't to make changes at half-time, is it? I think if you take Young off at half-time, what's it going to do for his confidence, Chris? It's not going to help him. But the best player on the park for me is McCowan so far.
Yes, without a doubt.
He can play right wing. Now, there's a couple of issues with that. The first issue is he's the best player on the park in the first half. However, you can bring on Bernardo or Engels, and you'll be quite confident with either of those two, probably more so with Bernardo. The second issue is, if you're playing someone on the right who really should be playing in the midfield, what does that say about Palmer? So that kind of decision, I just think it is an option. Because McCowan is in a game and he's playing well, he's demanding the ball. You actually heard that one of the mics picked it up. He's shouting at Yang at one point because Yang didn't make the move. The ball ends up going out the park. Yeah. He's frustrated. He's trying to make things happen, as is Rio Hatate. I think Hatate's trying to make it happen, but obviously Dundee United with that narrow kind of formation whereby nothing's coming away. And you're hoping then for the long-range effort. McCowan's had a couple. McGregor's about to pull the trigger, and we know that he can, particularly this season, and he's taken out. That's an option for me, and I don't think you should make it a half-time in relation to Yang. Give him 10 minutes. If he continues it in this vein of form, Chris, you've got to take him off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing some of the comments, and I can't disagree with what a lot of people are saying. He was an empty jersey in that first half, and look, you hate to say that about any player, particularly a Celtic player, but it's not happened for him. I said before the match this was an opportunity, but the whole point of an opportunity is you've got to take it. You've got to take it. There seems to be an inability to take a player on. Either he doesn't want to or he's afraid to. He's had one run through, which was, by virtue of that great pass from Welsh. And I mean, what went through his mind with that opportunity where he just plays it to no one. We need better at this level. We need absolutely better at this level. Now, look, I don't think the team collectively has played brilliant. I think McCowan's having a good game. I think Maeda's having a very good game as well. He's involved in everything. And I think actually when you bring Maeda into the equation, the contrast between what he's doing in a match and what Yang's doing in a match is night and day, because Yang gets the ball, it goes back, or it goes to the side, or just back to a player. There's no responsibility. There's no taking the initiative or showing the impetus to go down and actually try and win the game or get a goal or get into the box. He's really offering absolutely nothing. So at the moment, I wouldn't necessarily be disappointed. I don't think it'll happen, but I wouldn't be disappointed if you took him off at half-time. The question is, at what point does Brendan make changes, and what are the changes he wants to do? Well, actually, a few people in the comments are saying something quite interesting. Bring on Ida, move Kyogo out wide. I think that's a possibility, and then you don't sacrifice McCowan from midfield. I think Kyogo has got far greater ability to make things happen than Yang currently looks like he's showing at the moment. Palmer doesn't really inspire you with much confidence, does it, based on what we've seen up to this point? But with no Forrest on the bench, it's the obvious choice. Or does he, at nothing each, does he go for one of the youngsters? I don't think Brendan. I think Brendan's too risk averse for that, to be honest. But at the moment, Yang is offering nothing. So maybe McCowan could go out there. The fact is, you move McCowan out of the midfield, you do have an able replacement coming in Bernardo and potentially Engels. And the way McCowan's playing at the moment, I would trust him anywhere on that park. I think he is. The big difference is he took his opportunity, and every time the opportunity is presented, McCowan takes it. Now, he's been unlucky with some of his shots today, but he is making things happen in that midfield. He is on the edge of the box, his positioning, his touch, his passing has been excellent. And for me, I would, give him pass marks. I give Maeda pass marks. I think the rest of the team's done okay. Yang, so off it. Completely off it.
And again, the big thing is his inclusion in that start 11 prompted a discussion prior to the game, Chris. And, before making any kind of points, it was all about, look, this is not an individual issue that we have with the player. The point I made, right, was to to try and say to a lot of the people that come in the comments, because it's an easy thing to say, he's not had a run of games, he's not had a chance. He has played more games for Celtic than Kuhn. He has been at the club longer than Kuhn. I get it, 6 months longer. Yeah. But by the time that Kuhn has made this amount of appearances, 41 for Kuhn, 43 for Yang, Kuhn has made that impact. Yang hasn't, right? Now, again, you take him off and it's going to knock his confidence. And I think Rodgers is big on that, the mindset and trying to feed that player and the confidence within that player. Yeah. Maybe not a good idea. I'm sure we'll find out in the comment section as soon as a change has been made. And if indeed Yang is taken off. My point on McCowan, a lot of people are disagreeing with that one, saying he's not been the best in the first half. I think there was a couple of stray passes in terms near the end of the first half. But that's because he's doing that thing. See, on the right-hand side, we spoke about a really good, a few months back, a really good understanding that was developing between Alistair Johnson, Arnie Engels and Kuhn. Down the right-hand side, and there was
a triangle. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, we actually got a sense of that when Engels came in against Rangers, and for the third goal that Kuhn scored. I think the Rangers were still sitting in the box waiting for a free kick. But Engels and Kuhn were able to link it brilliantly down the right-hand side. That's all disconnected today. And this is what we're talking about. It wasn't about a lack of experience per player. It was about the system. And a lot of these guys haven't really linked in that often. And down the right-hand side, we're not seeing the understanding between the players. There's wee bits they play between Maeda and Rio, and you think, they've got a good understanding. Down the left-hand side, Taylor obviously is experienced in there. But I'm not seeing it on the right-hand side, so I think we need to make a change. Let's have a look at some of the points coming in the comment. And by the way, no disaster. I mean, it's not like
some of the football's been good. Some of the build-up play has been good. Nice one-touches. As I think Maeda, McCowan, Hatate. Hatate's trying, I think, again, a little bit like Welsh, he's looking for too much time on the ball. But, he's getting into positions. He is contributing. Kyogo, I mean, I've got second-hand frustration for Kyogo because the amount of times the ball should have went to him and it hasn't has been really irritating. But I think overall we've not played badly, not played great. Our penetration is not there. Decision making could be better, but we're in control, which I think is important.
And then Kyogo scuffs one when he does get a half chance. He scuffs it a wee bit, but that again, because he's not getting much of the ball. Sometimes you forget. Sometimes he'll score a goal and he's not been in the game. That's an incredible thing to do. It's like a goalie at the back who's not had a touch of the ball, and then he's called upon to make a save.
Yeah, I've got to give credit to Dundee United for the defending as well. I don't want to put it all down to us being wasteful with our chances. I actually think Dundee United are very tight in the box. They're tight to their man, and they're actually there's a lot of last ditch defending. They're not offering a huge amount going forward, but defensively they're pretty disciplined. I have to say, quite impressed with how they're set up.
Ridiculizer. If I'm Kyogo, I'm giving Hatate a proper bollocking.
100%.
Yeah. At first you're thinking, fair effort by Rio, and then you look at the position that Kyogo's taken up in the middle and you think, you just square the ball and let Kyogo do the rest.
It's that decision making. Yeah.
Absolutely. You're more sorry, lads. McCowan hasn't played well. Yeah, a couple of half shots, but he has given the ball away so many times. Remember when Celtic tweeted about McCowan, there was a wee toffee bar. Was that because of the McCowan's toffee?
Oh, it may have been actually. Yeah, you remember that old McCowan's toffee?
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Yeah.
That's people going, why are they using that emoji? There you go. There you go. Scabreen, disagree. McCowan not done anything to impress me. Engels and Bernardo second half. I would actually keep, as I say, I would find a way to keep McCowan on the park. I think he's played really well in the first half. And there was not just his own couple of wee shots, but there was the moment that McGregor, it opened up for McGregor, and that all came from a nice wee dink from McCowan as well. And he's on that right-hand side, really trying to orchestrate things, but I don't think he's getting much in the way of support from the boy in front of him, unfortunately. John, and by the way, I'm not blaming anybody else's performances on Yang. Poor guy, just blame everything on Yang. John McDowell, don't know how many chances Rodgers is going to give him. Well, this is his 32nd today. 43rd today. So he has had chances. That's a big thing. Love it. Rodgers has had this squad playing brilliant, fast-flowing football. Now he has them playing safe, still European football crazy. I think a big part of that's to do with personnel, the environment, the team you're playing, the way that they've kind of shaped up. And I'm not too concerned about that first half. We've seen so many times sitting at nothing each, First 10 minutes of the second half, we come out firing, we get that goal, and the game is completely changed from that moment. Loopy 33, McCowan hasn't been great. A lot of people disagreeing. If he's been the best on the park, it doesn't say much for the other 21. And Aero 250, for me, that wasn't a bad first half. Just that killer instinct was missing. Is the guy, your guy in the Avatar, is he the guy to come in with that killer instinct?
I don't know if that's a problem area though today. I think it's a creation. I think we've got a good finisher on there. We just need to get the ball to him. So.
Yeah, and I think he agrees with you, Chris. I think Kyogo agrees with that. Time for Palmer to step up and earn a wage. Yeah, you know what? I do agree with that. But at the same time, how much trust have you got that he could? That's the thing. How much trust could you put in his boots in the second half? Are we going to see the Palmer that was lofting balls into the box against Aberdeen with outside his foot brilliantly onto the head of O, or the guy that was scoring in the Champions League? Or are you going to see the guy that just stops and turns back and stops and turns back? It's hard, and I think a lot of that's down to the confidence. He's not played much recently in terms of Brendan Rodgers' team. So let's see what he does. Let's join the action. I'm not too concerned at this stage, but let's see where we are at full time. All that's left for me to say once again, thank you to Chris McElwain for joining me on A Celtic State of Mind.
You will.